Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about sloppy managers. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what do you do about a sloppy manager who does not write user stories completely and doesn't really know what he wants until you create a pull request? Basically, he changes his mind about requirements every single day. Well, that is a story that I am very familiar with. I've had this problem in more companies than I have not had it. And I actually have a solution for you that works extremely well. But the first thing you need to do is to realize that you need to get control of yourself, man. First and foremost. Take a deep breath and try to remember that you are getting paid regardless of how many times your manager changes his or her mind. Why is that significant? Because you find it annoying that your customer is wishy-washy, because that is what your manager is. Your manager is your stakeholder, your customer, the person that determines what you should be working on. And that is no different from being a contractor. And this is why I very much stress this to you guys. Do a little bit of self-reflection, take some meditation courses or something like that. Find your center and become the embodiment of tranquility. Stoic values or Zen or whatever you want to do, right? And come to that realization, guys, that it doesn't matter how they want things to work, or if they change their mind 100 times, because at the end of the day, it does not matter to you. You are getting paid whatever happens, and the reason why you get annoyed is usually because you do that thing that you damn software developers have to stop doing, and that is that you fall in love with your own solution. You fall in love with your code. You get a set of requirements handed to you, and then you fall in love with your own ideas of how to solve the problem. You fall in love with how it's going to go. You feel like if they keep on changing their mind, well, oh, now I have all this extra work, or now it's not going to fit with my nice solution. Drop that shit, guys. The code is not yours. It's not your code, it's somebody else's code. Your job is literally to produce the best results given the circumstances that you have been given. And if the circumstances are that people that you are working for are changing their mind every single minute, then as a real master software developer, you should account for that. I had exactly this problem at my last job with a consultant who, technically he quit before he got fired, but he was getting fired at basically the same week. So, yeah. Anywho, this person had exactly this problem with the managers that was working at that place. The only way they communicated to him was through Slack. They would just post ad hoc stuff. Oh, we shouldn't do this, we should do that. They didn't even write story cards or specifications or anything like that. They just said, do this thing. And then it was his fault, practically, or up to him to figure out what they actually meant. And in many cases, he got it right, and in many cases, he did not get it right. But he was not intelligent enough to figure out that this setup is hurting him a whole lot more than it's hurting them. Why is that? Well, because if you build the wrong thing, your manager is in a position of power. And so when things don't go so well, they're unhappy. And you can absolutely blame them, and in this case these people were at least aware of that there was a problem, but some managers don't even know it, guys. It's like having a customer. There are customers out there who are not, they can fuck up to the point where it's almost ridiculous, and they will still hold you accountable. And if you want to continue getting paid or deal with this situation, there are many ways of solving it. I'll give you what I did, because I managed to turn the team, because he, as I said, they had to get rid of him, and they took me in instead. And of course, I faced exactly the same problem. Now, so what he did was to get angry bit bitter and very resentful, and actually it caused a lot of tension in the team. What I did was very simple. I told my managers that we have a Kanban board here, because that's what we had. Like, there were story cards, nobody was using it, like the developer wasn't using it, and you know, so everything just kept on rolling, right? And I said, this board here, I'm gonna need you to start making cards. And I'm going to need you to write a specification in that card of what I'm going to do, because you have so many requests that is hard. I can't keep track of everything, and like Slack and so forth is not good enough for me to track things over time. So let's agree on that you're writing cards, right? So the rule is, and that was the only rule, I actually stated this exact thing, our only rule right now is that if your request is not on the board, it will not happen, or you have no guarantees that it's going to happen. Okay? Said and done. That's what happened. Now, the first thing that happens after that is exactly as you said, like, oh, incomplete stories, incomplete this, like they write a single sentence, oh, build this thing. Why does that matter? Because what happens is very simple. I pick up the card, the specification is unclear, I write a little message to them saying that I'm sorry, I don't understand what this means, can you please elaborate? And then I put it in the blocked column, or I just put it like it's not finished. And then I pick up the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And I continue that process until the blocked column of stuff that I can't work on because I don't know what they want is so long that it's getting embarrassing. Within 2 weeks, I think, the problem was gone. Because what the developer had failed to understand was that the agile work practices, guys, the Scrum and the Kanban and so forth, these things, they work, but you have to understand what it is about them that is actually working. And some people do say Scrum just for no reason, or they use these, like, if you don't understand how to create an efficient work contract between you and your stakeholder, it's no different from if you were a freelancer. If you have a gentleman's agreement with a customer who is wishy-washy, then it's on you that when they don't pay your invoices. It's the same thing here, guys. You don't have to be worried that there's no solution to a problem so simple as that your manager doesn't write doesn't write a good story specification, because at the end of the day, if you could be, because by just doing this change, I actually did something that is fundamental. I moved the responsibility for effective communication back to the manager. And when you do this, when you force somebody to actually write down their thoughts in a card, you create documentation, you create a data point showing that this person did not do their part of the did not fulfill their part of the bargain. And that is very powerful. One part is it because it forces them to actually commit to things. And the second thing is that it becomes very relaxing for you, because that basically means that when it comes time to figure out why the project is delayed or where there's a lot of bugs and so forth, all you have to do is to go back to the storyboard and show, well, that block column is pretty long, and for some reason my manager never has the time to explain further what I need to do, and it keeps on changing all the time, so I don't really know what to do. And trust me, when their manager comes along, they're going to notice that they are not doing a good job. And incidentally, that's what happened with me. So, what I want you to take away from this is that if you're dealing with a manager who is sloppy or doesn't write complete stories and stuff like that, just get used to it, guys. It's extremely rare that you have a competent product owner or someone who actually knows what it means to write a good story specification. It's actually funny because I find that the talented software developers, so the senior software developers, they're actually better at writing story specifications than the people whose job it is to do this. And it really comes down to, as I was saying, in our case, it was two people. I had two managers. Like, they are not thinking about anybody but themselves. They are just doing a billion things, and writing a story specification to you is just something they do as on the side because, hey, they have to, because reasons, right? And that's why agile work practice, and in my personal favorite is Kanban. I think that's the best one actually. By just forcing somebody to write down what they want and put it in a priority, they have now fulfilled the minimum thing that you need to do your job, because they have given you a priority, so you're working on the right thing, and they have given you a description. And if you cannot from the card figure out what that means, that's okay. Remember, the hours are ticking. They're paying you regardless of if you sit on your ass or if you pick the thing up. So you pick it up and say to yourself, well, I don't actually know what this means, and we've never talked about it, so I'll put that in the block column. Or you just send them a message saying that, I'm sorry, I need clarification on this. And then you continue that process until every card is so blocked that you can't work. And all of a sudden you're forcing them back to the drawing board. Guys, it's unless you didn't know that, you know the front-end developers, how they deal with designers, that's exactly the same process. It's literally the same process. You guys, you have to remember that you have certain requirements that you need fulfilled, like the stakeholders part in the development process. If they are not putting things, setting things up in a way that makes you able, like it makes it possible for you to do your job, you have to make them do that. And asking them to write something down is non-hostile. It's the simplest thing in the world. It's actually expected of them to do this. Any person would understand that in this issue that you're having, they are the problem. But you have to track it. You have to make them write it down, because I promise you, basically the entire problem disappears when that happens. And if it doesn't, if it continues, you now have proof that you have done your part. And that makes all the difference when it comes time to figure out whose fault it is and the finger pointing starts. Have a great day.